This is Abner, and Abner, one of the things Abner likes to do is shove his way through the door. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can teach your dog and train your dog to wait for permission to go out the door. Now, a lot of us, when we think about going through the door, we just think of it as one fluid motion. Walk over, open the door, and let the dog out. It's actually a whole lot of little steps. And this is kind of a microcosm. The reason I'm doing this isn't a primary issue for the guardians, but the solution that I'm going to offer is what the guardians can do for just about any problem that they have, and I'm going to break it down for you. So when a dog has an activity that it fails, a behavior that it offers that you don't want, when people are like, my dog is so naughty, it runs out the door. I'm like, well, have you taught your dog how you want it to behave? People look at me like this confounding look like, how would I teach my dog to do that? Well, the way you teach your dog how to do things is to recreate the situation that your dog failed in. But instead of making a real world situation, we try to pull back several elements to make it just the core version of that, the easiest version possible. And then what I do is I help the dog practice each individual step one at a time. And I practice the step over and over and over again until the dog behaves the way I want. Only then do I move to the next step. And by the time I actually get to the last step, now I've taught the dog to behave during each transition or individual step of the process. Then I can recreate the whole process in the easiest capacity possible, but instead of doing individual steps, we do all steps together. Then once the dog can do it at that point, then we start adding in other elements. This allows the dog to understand how we want them to behave. It also allows them to build up some confidence, and we remove the pressure and the stress because we're not trying to host a party or let somebody in through our door or whatever it is. We've created a situation to help the dog practice and help the dog discover these behaviors on its own, not because I'm punishing it or telling what to do. Abner, you wanna go outside? Here, buddy. Sit. So then I reach for the handle. Now, he's okay with it, but a lot of people the dog would get up when you reach for the handle. So what I do is I just go back and forth like this until the dog stays seated. Next thing is I do, I want to make it as noisy as humanly possible. Now we have a deadbolt here. See that little head shift? That means the door's about to open. I can run through there. So now I open it a crack. I close it. And each time I want to open it a little bit more if the dog performs the way that I want them to perform. Now, of course, he's not doing what he normally does. The guardian opens the door an inch and he tries to shove his way through. So what we're going to do is I'm going to finish demonstrating this. I'm going to have the guardian take the leash, walk him around the corner, and see if she can recreate the same thing. Now, to give him a command word to go out, what I would do is touch his nose with a treat. Even though he wants to go out and throw it outside and come up with a word that means to go outside. Maybe call it formation, kind of a military area. Or whatever it is. So there's a command word. So I throw the treat outside, he runs out the door to get it, and when he licks it up, I would say the word formation. Or, I'm trying to think of something that would, a military-related deal. Whatever now we're creating a command word that means to go out the door. And we're helping him practice. And any point that he starts to get up and lurch towards the door, we stop, tell him to sit, wait for him to calm down, completely relaxed. Then I start the process and go back to that same step and practice that one step over and over again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you do this. So put your hand through it. Go ahead and walk all the way through. I'm going to finish talking about this. I'm going to step over here, and you're going to continue filming. And I'm going to have her do the same thing that we just did, and we'll see what kind of response she gets from the dog. I'm going to move over there. You're going to stay right there. All right, so let me move out of the way. Just go ahead and walk back to the door. And tell him like you mean it. Before you reach, tell him what to do first.
Sit.
Now reach, there you go. Pull your hand back. And reach and pull your hand back. So you're already doing 3 steps at once. Just reach and don't even touch it. Reach for it and pull back. And put your hand at your side. There you go. And reach for it again. Then jiggle it and close and put your hand back. Jiggle it a little bit more and hand back. Now let's do the deadbolt. See, you saw his head snap. So do it several times back and forth. All right, now leave it unlocked. Now reach and jiggle the handle. Open it a crack. Close it. Reach again, open it a crack a little bit more. Close it. Keep doing that, add an inch each time. Close it. Take a half step back. There you go. and reach again. Open it a little bit further. Close it. Keep doing that until you can open it all the way. Now take the leash off and tell him release or whatever, and point outside.
Out.
So this is the point where we can do the treat thing. So touch his nose with the treat.
Isn't this weird?
And then toss it right outside. And wait. And when he licks it up, then say the word out.
Out.
Now go ahead and close the door. Okay. So you can step over here real quick. So basically, if you want to come back to me, so when you have a dog that fails a behavior, I want you to learn how, analyze it. First of all, what's the dog's motivation? Well, he wants to go outside. Okay. Now, how can I recreate that situation, break it down into small steps, and help the dog practice the first step at a time, over and over that first step? Now, when the guardian came over, what did she do? She went unlocked and reached for it. She did 3 steps at the same time. Now, in some situations, you can move it faster because the dog knows how to behave. But if your dog fails, then just reach. I mean, I do this a lot where I just reach back and forth. I typically do the same version of this when a dog gets excited for the walk. When you go over to where the leash, when you're walking to where the leash is, as soon as the dog walks in front of you, I turn and walk away. Whoever's in front is perceived to be in charge. And then when I go to walk all the way to the door where the leash is with the dog staying behind me, when I get there, then I tell the dog to sit, then I reach for it. And just reaching, the dog gets up. I put my hand back, say sit, or I can go sit back down and wait completely. This is a little bit faster, just sit. As soon as he sits, then I reach for it again. He gets up, I reach, but I'm not touching the leash. I'm just going back and forth with this motion over and over again till he stays seated while I do that. Then I pick up the leash and make the jiggle sound, the clipping sound. And I keep on doing that until the dog stays seated. Then I would come over here and start reaching for the dog. He gets up, put it back, and then reset the whole thing. And eventually you can be able to clip it, get the dog to go to the door, sit, and you reach and open the door, and the dog looks up at you. Are we ready to go for a walk? Because we've taught the dog how we want them to behave. So these are some tips and tricks that you can do on how you can teach your dog to behave in any situation by breaking it down in individual steps, helping them practice those steps in a practice scenario, then gradually working your way back to a real world scenario.